Mina was born in Osaka, Japan on August 9, 2000. Mina described herself as a quiet girl, growing up in a household where education mattered enormously. Mina called herself an otaku, a Japanese word for someone who can become deeply absorbed in particular interests or fandoms. Mina first entered university in Kyoto. Mina studied. Mina reapplied. Eventually, Mina entered Rikyo University in Tokyo, while still connected to university. Mina began working seriously at a hostess club called Fabric Shinjuku. For an American audience, a Japanese hostess club needs explanation. It is a nightlife venue where customers pay to drink while spending time with women whose professional work centers on conversation, hospitality, appearance, and personalized attention. 4 months later came Mina's birthday. The scale of the event was extraordinary. Across 2 birthday event nights, customers reportedly generated roughly 125 million yen in spending credited to Mina. Across the full month, the reported total was about 150 million yen. At the exchange rates of the period, that was roughly the scale of around $1 million in customer spending associated with a 23-year-old woman who had entered the profession only months earlier. That does not mean Mina personally took home $1 million. The figure represented spending inside the club generated through Mina's customers. Mina said she believed she was mentally strong. If a customer behaved badly, Mina preferred confronting the problem. If somebody chose another hostess, Mina said she did not want to beg him to stay. If he wanted to leave, he could leave. Mina wanted people who actually valued Mina. She even said anonymous criticism online did not normally bother her very much. Even while Mina was producing enormous nightlife sales, Mina had not stopped being a university student. Mina later described finishing assignments between customers. Sometimes, she borrowed a computer so she could submit schoolwork before time ran out. Mina later explained that simply remaining successful could begin to feel like maintenance. Mina wanted growth, so Mina moved from Shinjuku to Roppongi. Roppongi is an affluent neighborhood in central Tokyo where international businesses, embassies, museums, luxury restaurants, and expensive real estate sit beside one of the city's best-known nightlife districts. For someone working at the high end of Tokyo nightlife, Roppongi meant stronger competition and greater prestige. Mina worked in environments where people talked constantly about one another. Who was successful? Who had rich customers? Who was jealous? Who was difficult? Who had done something embarrassing? Mina had a clear philosophy about those stories. She did not like judging somebody purely from another person's description. If someone told Mina that another woman was terrible, Mina preferred meeting her herself. Mina understood that people described others through filters, competition, jealousy, friendship, personal preference, resentment. Mina wanted her own evidence. When Mina later looked back on her hostess career, Mina called it her Seishun. The closest English translation is youth, but the Japanese word carries nostalgia with it. Friendship, first love, mistakes, excitement. The period people remember as the time they became themselves. Mina made close friends. Mina experienced romance. She met older women she admired and younger women she cared about. She experienced fun that did not need to produce a grade or a sales number. In August 2025, Mina retired from nightlife at 25. She was still successful. University remained unfinished. Mina still needed roughly 10 credits, although her graduation thesis was already complete. She wanted to finish. She also wanted a less exhausting life. After retirement, quite the opposite. Mina wanted to graduate. Mina planned to continue social media. Mina said there were other plans she was not yet ready to announce. One customer gave Mina an unopened bottle of Romane Conti, one of the world's most famous wines, with the idea that Mina should open it someday after another important accomplishment. Mina kept the bottle closed. By 2026, however, ENHYPEN had become a major part of Mina's public fan identity. ENHYPEN is a South Korean K-pop boy group. The member Mina supported most closely was NIKI, a Japanese performer who had entered the Korean entertainment industry at a young age. K-pop fandom sometimes gives fans unusually direct access to performers. A fansign is an organized event where selected fans briefly meet group members face to face. There can also be video calls and other short interactions. If the same fan attends repeatedly, the performer may eventually recognize that person. Mina appears to have become one of those repeat fans. This created an unusual reversal in Mina's life. For years, Mina had worked in a profession where customers returned to see Mina. Mina had been the person expected to remember. Now, Mina was the person returning. Now, Mina wanted to be remembered. Knowing Mina later died after a controversy involving the desire for fan recognition makes this parallel feel extremely important. But again, recognition itself is not evidence of pathology. What the parallel shows is that Mina had spent years in environments where being remembered carried emotional and social value. When NIKI's later livestream discussed fans who seemed too focused on being recognized and other fans attached Mina's name to those remarks, it may have touched a theme that already carried considerable meaning in Mina's adult life. That could have increased the emotional weight of the controversy. It cannot establish why Mina died. One archived fan story involved Mina preparing 100 white roses for NIKI around his coming-of-age celebration. The gift reportedly could not be accepted because of an allergy-related concern. According to Mina's account, NIKI asked staff more than once whether there was some way to accept the flowers. There was not. But Mina was still deeply moved. The important thing was not that the roses reached NIKI. They did not. The important thing for Mina appears to have been that NIKI noticed the effort and tried to respond. That is how real fan recognition can become emotionally powerful. NIKI did not have to become Mina's friend for the interaction to mean something to her. The acknowledgement itself could be meaningful. Mina had spent much of her life learning that effort produced results. Study more and reach another university. Work harder and increase sales. Move into stronger competition and improve. Attend repeatedly and perhaps become recognizable. The pattern made sense, but human relationships contain limits that achievement systems do not. No amount of effort can automatically transform professional recognition into an equal private relationship. Knowing how Mina later died makes it tempting to say that this misunderstanding led directly toward tragedy. That would go beyond the evidence. What we can say is that Mina herself later acknowledged she had misjudged the distance between herself and ENHYPEN's members. That public admission tells us the boundary had become psychologically relevant to Mina before her death. On July 26, 2026, Mina attended ENHYPEN's concert at the Tacoma Dome in Washington State. Mina brought flowers. According to her later explanation, the sunflowers were for Sunoo and the roses for NIKI. Mina appears to have wanted a playful moment involving both performers. The interaction did not go the way Mina expected. Some fans accused Mina of pressuring Sunoo to involve NIKI and interpreted her behavior as disrespectful or attention-seeking. Others believed the incident was dramatically exaggerated. The exact details remain disputed. But Mina's visibility changed the consequences. If a completely anonymous fan has an awkward moment at a concert, that person may disappear when everyone goes home. Mina could not. Fans knew Mina. They knew her accounts. They knew about earlier events. That meant a few seconds in Tacoma could immediately become connected to Mina's entire public history. Before the controversy, Mina's visibility had advantages. She was recognizable. She had attended repeatedly. She appeared to receive recognition. After Tacoma, those same facts could be reinterpreted. Frequent attendance became obsession. Recognition became attention-seeking. Expensive fan gestures became excess. Knowing Mina died days later makes this reversal one of the most emotionally significant parts of the story. Suddenly, the qualities that had given Mina status inside fandom could be used to shame Mina inside the same fandom. Could that have caused enormous distress? Certainly. Does it prove that this caused her death? No, but it gives us one plausible source of pressure surrounding Mina's final days. 4 days after Tacoma, NIKI held a live stream. ENHYPEN had already continued its American tour and performed in Oakland, California. During the live stream, NIKI talked generally about concert audiences. He wanted fans to enjoy the performance, participate, dance, and create energy together. He also discussed people who seemed too focused on receiving personal recognition from the performers. NIKI did not publicly say Mina's name. He did not mention the flowers. He did not mention Sunoo. He did not publicly state that he was discussing the Tacoma incident, but online communities connected the remarks to Mina. At first, an interpretation can sound uncertain. Maybe NIKI meant Mina. Then another person repeats it. He probably meant Mina. After enough repetition, uncertainty begins disappearing. He definitely meant Mina. The evidence did not necessarily become stronger. The confidence did. This is the kind of social process researchers call an information cascade. People begin using other people's certainty as a substitute for direct evidence. Knowing Mina died soon afterward gives this moment enormous emotional weight. If Mina perceived NIKI's comments as being about her, the criticism may have felt different from ordinary online hate. The person Mina admired could now appear to be rejecting behavior associated with Mina, and the fandom could appear to be rejecting Mina on his behalf. But we still do not know NIKI's intention. We also do not know exactly how Mina interpreted the remarks internally. Those uncertainties must remain. On July 31st, Mina published an apology. Mina explained that the sunflowers had been intended for Sunoo and the roses for NIKI. She said the shared moment was something Mina herself had wanted. Mina apologized for relying too heavily on Sunoo's kindness. Then Mina wrote something much more revealing. Mina said that repeatedly attending ENHYPEN Fansigns had caused her to misunderstand the proper distance between herself and the members. That sentence gives us one of the clearest public windows into Mina's thinking before her death. Mina was not saying that the interactions never happened. Recognition may genuinely have happened. Warmth may genuinely have happened. A performer can genuinely remember a repeat fan. The problem was interpretation. Professional familiarity is still not friendship. Being remembered is not the same as having an equal personal relationship. Mina appeared to be recognizing that distinction publicly. Knowing Mina died only days later makes this apology painful to read. It suggests Mina may have been re-examining experiences that had once brought her happiness. But we must be careful about how far we go. We cannot say Mina suddenly concluded every previous memory was meaningless. We cannot say this realization caused her suicide. We can say that Mina was publicly re-evaluating an emotionally important relationship. At the same time, she was being widely criticized. That combination could plausibly create substantial distress. At the end of Mina's apology, Mina thanked the people who had supported her fan account and announced its closure. She ended with the word close. That word should not be treated as a suicide note. The straightforward meaning was that Mina was closing her fan activity, and closing things was something Mina understood. Mina had changed universities. Mina had changed workplaces. Mina had retired from nightlife. In Mina's earlier life, leaving one structure often restored control. The internet worked differently. Mina could close Mina's account. Mina could not close somebody else's account. Mina could delete a post. Mina could not delete screenshots. Mina could apologize. Mina could not decide when strangers had discussed the apology enough. Mina could leave fandom. Mina could not make fandom leave Mina. This may be one of the strongest psychological connections between Mina's earlier life and the final crisis. Mina had spent years learning that personal action could change circumstances. Now Mina was inside a decentralized social event that no single action could stop. Knowing Mina died soon afterward makes loss of control an important lens. But even here, we should say only what the evidence permits. Loss of control may have contributed to psychological pressure. It cannot by itself explain Mina's death. The original controversy concerned flowers at a concert. Then people started discussing Mina's previous career, her income, her appearance, her old social media posts, her previous interactions with ENHYPEN, her personality. The argument had moved from one question to another. First, was Mina's behavior appropriate? Then, what kind of person is Mina? That second question is much more dangerous because almost any biographical fact can be turned into evidence. Mina had earned substantial money in nightlife. That could be reframed as explaining why Mina could afford repeated fan events. Mina had been successful in a profession centered on personalized attention. That could be distorted into claims about Mina's personality or relationships. Mina had attended many events. That could be reframed as obsession. The internet collapsed Mina's different identities into one file. Student Mina, professional Mina, beauty content Mina, fan Mina. They no longer remained separate parts of a complicated life. Everything became part of the prosecution. Knowing Mina later died gives this process obvious emotional importance. Public shaming can become much more painful when criticism stops addressing one behavior and begins attacking the entire person. But we still cannot know exactly what weight Mina gave each attack. The public record can show what surrounded her. It cannot measure every effect inside her mind. This may be the most important connection across Mina's entire biography. Mina had repeatedly solved problems by acting. Wrong university, study again. Need stronger competition, move, want better results, work. Need to finish school, return, ready to leave nightlife, retire. There was usually a path from problem to action. The online crisis had no obvious path. Which person should Mina persuade first? How many people? What explanation would stop the story? How could Mina prove what NIKI privately meant? How could Mina stop old screenshots moving across accounts she did not control? How could Mina correct a rumor translated into languages she did not speak perfectly? There was no sales target, no grade, no ranking, no single manager who could say the crisis was finished. For a person whose life had repeatedly reinforced the idea that intense effort could restore control, this kind of problem may have felt fundamentally different. Knowing Mina died at such a young age makes this pattern emotionally powerful. But it is still a hypothesis. We cannot say that Mina died because she encountered an unsolvable problem. We can say that diminished control, public humiliation, rejection, and online harassment are all plausible forms of psychological pressure, and Mina appears to have encountered several of them at once. In the early morning of August 5, 2026, Seoul police responded to an emergency involving a Japanese woman in her 20s during a social media live stream. Police-based reporting described her as an influencer with roughly 80,000 TikTok followers. Initial official reporting did not publicly identify the woman as Mina. It did not connect the death to ENHYPEN. It did not connect the death to NIKI. It did not establish harassment as the motive. Later reporting and a statement attributed to Mina's younger sister strengthened the public identification of the deceased woman as Mina. But the most important question remained unanswered. Why did Mina die? The internet answered quickly: cyberbullying, ENHYPEN NI-KI, parasocial obsession, fandom, public humiliation. Each explanation took one visible part of Mina's final week and tried to make it the key to her entire death. Real suicide causation is rarely that simple. Mina may have been deeply hurt by the public controversy. Harassment may have contributed to her distress. The loss of fandom belonging may have mattered. Perceived rejection may have mattered. Loss of control may have mattered. Private circumstances nobody online knew about may also have mattered. Those possibilities can coexist. Mina's life gives us clues about why certain events could have been painful. It does not give us permission to pretend we possess the complete answer. After someone dies young, biography becomes dangerous. Every earlier event suddenly looks like foreshadowing. Mina was introverted. Was that a clue? Mina wanted recognition. Was that a clue? Mina worked extremely hard. Was that a clue? Mina felt lonely after retirement. Was that a clue? Mina became deeply involved in fandom. Was that the answer? This is hindsight. The living Mina did not experience those moments as pieces of a suicide story. Mina experienced them as her life. She was a student trying to reach Tokyo, a young woman discovering she could succeed socially, a professional trying to improve, a friend finding the youth she believed she had missed, a 25-year-old leaving one career because she expected another chapter, a student with roughly 10 credits remaining, a woman with a completed thesis, a person talking about future projects, a fan experiencing the excitement of being remembered. Then Mina entered a severe public controversy shortly before she died. That chronology matters. It deserves serious examination. But the most responsible conclusion is not that every earlier part of Mina's life explains Mina's death. It is that every earlier part helps us understand what Mina may have had to lose: her sense of competence, her ability to reinvent herself, her confidence in her own judgment, her belief that effort could change outcomes, her social identity, her fandom community, the meaning attached to cherished interactions, her control over how other people understood her. Several of those things may have felt threatened at once. That is the connection worth making. Not Mina was always heading toward death, but Mina had built a complicated life around achievement, reinvention, belonging, recognition, and personal control. And in her final public days, several of those pillars appear to have come under pressure at the same time. What role that pressure ultimately played in Mina's death remains uncertain, and that uncertainty belongs inside the story. It is not something the story should hide.